Good day, everyone. This is my reflection video um, about results, life, uh, works, and writings. So first is the biological sketches of Rizal. The preliminary readings. It was all about Rizal's biological sketches. Uh, si Protasio Rizal Mercado Villalonga was introduced and described in this discussion as a person born into a wealthy family with a high social status. Jose Rizal's family fully supported him in his education and provided him with all the resources he required. He was able to enroll in a private school, which only wealthy families can afford. Jose Rizal was born under the Chinese sign of Ox and the wisdom sign of Gemini. His astrological sign had a large influence on his personality because he was known for being intelligent and reflective. Rizal is also known for his ability to write novels and his ability as a Gemini to have many women, as mentioned during his introduction. Rizal had a better life because his father was a prosperous landowner and sugar planter. Rizal learned to write and read thanks to his mother, who first taught him. My parents are just like Rizal's uh, because they were able to teach me how to read, write, and solve basic mathematical problems when I was young. But unlike Rizal, I was born into a poor family. My father is a fisherman, and my mother is only a housekeeper. So I was only given limited resources in my studies when I was young. On the other hand, I was bullied as a child, much like Rizal, because of my physical appearance, which is skinny and has a dark skin. People frequently refer to me as Nog Nog Negro at Pagod, despite being bullied, I was never affected or hurt by their words. Instead, I laughed and gave them a middle finger sign. I may not be even close to Rizal's intellectual capacity and ability, but I'm still doing my best not to fail my subjects and to pass and graduate from college. There's also a word that has stuck with me, which is support and love. I've never heard that word came from my parents' mouth, which make me sad, but because I don't have the kind of support Rizal has from his family. I could have had Rizal's confidence and strength if I had been given the necessary support and love. Not only do I suffer from this longing for support, but so the children, sons, and daughters in a society. Because knowing that our parents supported and loved us boosts our morale and social confidence because we know that our parents have our backs and will support us no matter what. Furthermore, the societal implication of this is that we, the children, uh, will tend to stay in the room all the time making schoolworks because we are aware that staying in the house will make our parents proud and then provide us with the emotional, physical, and mental support that we have been longing for. That means we will not have the time to socialize or participate in societal or community activities. Moreover, it was mentioned in the discussion that families at the time were classified according to social status. With Principalia, the wealthy family, the middle class family, and poor family. Those from lower status families will not be able to send their children to school because they lack funds. So instead, they will send their children to work under the wealthy family as a slave or as a worker. And then the wealthy family, on the other hand, will be able to send their children to different schools, just uh, just like here in the Philippines, where people are classified as well as wealthy family, middle class family, and poor family. Whereas wealthy family can send their children to any schools their children wants. As well as the middle class family, they can also send their children from the schools that they can afford. But unlike the poor family, uh, they have the choice to send their children to schools, but they don't have the funds or the money to do so. So they are going to persuade their children to work instead instead of them or instead of their children instead of sending their children to school. But not all of them, because some of the poor families encourage their children to work hard to school and tell them not to end up like them. As a student from a poor family, I will do everything in my power to complete my education and have a degree so that I can demonstrate to the other people from poor families that being poor is not an excuse for them not to complete their education, as well as for me to inspire and encourage others to complete their education, regardless of the circumstances they are facing or will be facing in the future. Because I was once a child, a young person who was also inspired by someone to have the courage to face all odds. On this path, I was, I was on and continue to walk towards success because I believe in the saying that being poor is a choice, not fate. So, in order for me to succeed, I must trust God and pray to God to guide me through the dark and thorny path. I may be suffering right now from financially as a result of my family's situation, but I will find a way to overcome this obstacle. In this way, with the help of my family and myself, I will be able to continue my education. So if I complete, uh, so after I complete my education, I will be able to repay my family for their sacrifices uh, in order for me to complete my course. Following that, I will find a decent job and repay their sacrifices by allowing them to live the life they desire. The second one is the pragmatic education of Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal's pragmatic education focuses on self-development and gaining as much experience as possible, particularly in ophthalmology, which he has able to study and became an assistant to a famous ophthalmologist in France. Jose Rizal is currently experiencing difficulties as a result of his limited and insufficient allowance. Jose Rizal was able to meet here with whom he became friends, who is Professor Ferdinand Blumentritt, was able to assist him in continuing his studies in ophthalmology and writing his novel, The Noli Me Tangere. I was really impressed by Rizal's eagerness to learn about ophthalmology for the sake of his mother. It just goes to show how much Rizal he loves his mother, Doña Tidora, and his family. Because you can see Jose Rizal pursuing various degrees or education without stopping or complaining to his family. He will go to any length of his to fulfill his family's wish or desire for him to be. Rizal was also brave enough to travel abroad on his own, carrying his family and country's hope for freedom and peace. I recognized myself in Rizal's determination to fulfill his promises to his parents to complete his degree and help his country, because I also promised my parents that if I get a good paying job, I will pay them back in full, and I will be the one to look after them when they are old enough. I also promised myself that if I ever get a lot of money, I will definitely help those homeless people who are lying in the street without nothing to eat, because seeing them in pain reminds me of being in the same situation as them when I was younger. Like Rizal, who gave everything, including his life, to free his country and ensure the Philippines were treated fairly during the Spanish colonization of the Philippines. because he does not want to see his countrymen suffer and be treated like beasts by the Spaniards. Having this resemblance between myself and Rizal motivates me to do more and help more people for as long as I can. The realization that I share the same ideology as our national hero Rizal is a great compliment to myself, and it has fueled my desire to help people who are incapable of living, helping my parents in particular. Furthermore, Rizal's bravery in fighting with words inspired Filipinos to form a rebellious group and fight against Spanish authorities. In addition, the novel prompted Rizal to criticize the unjust system of the Spanish authorities. Uh, Finally, the problem Filipinos faced at the time was social injustice and abuse of power, which was led by the friars who were given greater authority by the Spaniards. At the time, because the friars at the time treated Filipinos as beasts and slaves, collecting high taxes from them despite their low income. This is the problem that we Filipinos, particularly the Bisaya people, are facing right now because we have been looked down upon by people from Luzon and non-Bisaya people who uh, automatically judge Bisaya people as low intellect and illiterate people who live in the jungle and are not socialized. They frequently use the word Bisaya to mock or make fun of someone they dislike. As a Bisaya myself, I was disappointed by this behavior of uh, fellow Filipinos towards us Bisaya, despite the fact that Bisaya uh, people have uh, the most beautiful natural resources, and most of us is fluent in speaking in English. Uh, the Kabisayan locations is also consists of mainly beautiful uh, natural resources which people from abroad came to see in these locations. As a result, I dislike having friends from the Tagalog region because they would discriminate me because of my dialect. Uh, and finally, I hope that this Filipino issue will be resolved for the sake of our country's unity. And the third one is the travel's frustrations and disappointment of Mr. Rizal. This topic discusses the consequences of Rizal's trouble abroad, his return home, personal problems, and difficulties he faced with his dog. Rizal was warmly welcomed by his townsmen, but others did not bother to greet him in order to avoid complications. When Rizal arrived in Manila, he immediately built a medical clinic that quickly aided the people of the city. He was also able to construct a gymnasium for fencing and shooting. This act of Mr. Rizal makes me appreciate him as a Filipino who solely serves and values his countrymen, dedicating himself to public service. In my case, I can relate to Rizal's dedication and commitment to serving his fellow men because I, too, am a person who enjoys and is passionate about assisting those in need. Furthermore, making people smile gives me more energy and motivation to do more and continue to help people in need. On the other hand, the noble Rizal has become source of contention after the friar stated that the noble Rizal could spark a revolution and they want Rizal to accept responsibility for what he has done through his writings. Friars immediately ordered the government to prohibit people from possessing a copy of Dr. Rizal's novel. Following the controversy, the people of Calambao were the most affected because the friars abruptly increased the rent on all land surrounding Calambao. The controversy was initially ignored by Governor General Emilio Terrero, who was able to read the contents of Rizal's novel and found nothing wrong with it. However, Dominican professors insisted that Noli Me Tangere contained passages prejudice prejudicial to public order. So Governor General Terrero forwarded it to the commission, which consisted of friars, and the commission stated that Rizal's work contains ideas that will give Filipinos the motivation to rebel against the Spanish authority. So the commission decided to ban and burn copies of Rizal's novel. Following this, he became dissatisfied due to the prohibition and burning of his novel. In addition, these issues became overly heated, with the Archbishop and other friars complaining to Governor General Terrero on a daily basis. As a result, Rizal was forced to flee the country as advised by Governor General Terrero. This time, Rizal was rumored to be a German spy who cruised to Hong Kong and then spent 2 weeks with his friend Don Jose Mabasa. After his stay in Hong Kong, Rizal traveled to Japan, where he worked as an interpreter to earn money before falling in love with the country. After leaving Japan, he traveled to America, where he admired the progressive country but discovered social prejudices against Asians and African Americans. I like how Rizal notices every detail a country has and how he always finds the wrong actions or treatment of the people in that country. That was, I believe, Rizal's advantage over other because he was figuring out the issues or problems about the place he was in. Furthermore, after his stay in America, Rizal traveled to London to master or improve his English language skills. Rizal was able to appreciate the lifestyle and values of the people in London. Rizal was then assisted by his friend Dr. Reinhold Rose in gaining access to the London Museum. After that, Rizal discovered a book by Dr. Antonio Morga in the museum, which gave him another reason to write many articles for La Solidaridad, and he became the honorary president of the said association. He then published the Book of Morga to represent civilization prior to Spanish colonization. Rizal also wrote articles such as Sin Nombre. This made me realize that Rizal admired Morga's work so much that he published numerous articles about it. After that, Rizal flew back to the Philippines after learning the sufferings of his townspeople and relatives in Calamba, where people's properties and houses had been burned and confiscated, forcing them to flee. I was enraged by this Spaniards' treatment of Rizal's townsmen. These Spaniards were hypocrites and cruel to the people. I felt bad about the Spaniards' ruthless treatment to the people around that time. Many families had suffered as a result of their ruthlessness. As a result, Rizal traveled to Madrid to open this case, but there was no assistance. Jealousy was causing friction between Rizal and Marcelo del Pilar at that time. This was also the time when he discovered Leonora's letter in which she stated that her mother had forced her to marry a white man. Rizal was heartbroken this time because of the news he received. He then left Madrid for France to finish his novel In Filibusterismo, which he was able to publish in Ghent, Belgium. After publishing his novel, Rizal reunited with his family in Hong Kong, but he was arrested and detained at at Santiago after leaving Hong Kong for Manila. I felt sorry for Rizal at this point. If I were in Rizal's shoes right now, I would be dying from stress and depression. But Rizal didn't, which is why I admired his mentality. Instead of getting depressed about it, Rizal consistently helped people even though he had his own problems. There was also a time in the Philippines when families were deported from other countries with few resources. It was the time of the Marawi siege, in which terrorists took over the city and held the residents hostage. Many people have died and and been killed as a result of that war. Men were forced to fight with the terrorists out of fear of losing their families if they did not follow their orders. However, those who had not been captured by the terrorists were evacuated and deported to a safe location far from the country. That cruelty, which the people of Marawi witnessed at the time, will forever be in their minds, as well as the cries of the helpless people. Furthermore, the existing conflict, I can relate this, is the Philippines' unfair justice system, in which the poor do not have the same rights as the government has given to the people above them, which are the wealthy people. It's disappointing that our government hasn't been able to take any further action on the social justice that so many Filipinos are facing. I am hoping that this new person leading the government will look into it and resolve this issue as soon as possible so that many people can regain their trust in the Philippine laws and judgment. This had an impact on me because uh, if a person is wealthy and he beats me up and I complain to the local barangay, I would think that they would not believe me, but instead they would believe that wealthy person due to his influence and money. So as a result, uh, they wouldn't believe me, and uh, the harassment that has happened to me uh, will not be looked into. The fourth one is the exiled life of Rizal. Rizal's exiled life revolves around his confinement in Dagupan. The pobres, frailes, or wealthy Dominicans who wants to assassinate Rizal because of his new published novel El Filibusterismo are the reason he has been deported to other places. When Rizal was deported to Dapitan, he made friends with Governor General Ricardo Car- Carlecero, who was the warden at that time. During Rizal's exile, Captain Carlecero and Francisco Equilor won a lottery ticket worth 20,000 pesos. After winning, Rizal gave his and father and friend the money, and he also purchased 16 hectares of agricultural land owned at the time by Lucia Tabogok and Juana Pagbangon. Rizal used this land to build a public house, school, and hospital. During his 4 years in the Dapitan, Rizal was able to assist the public by teaching children, participating in civic projects, farming, and providing proper health care to the people. During his exile, Jose Rizal was able to have a wife, which is Josephine Baraken, who was later became pregnant, but unfortunately their child only lived for 3 hours before passing away. I am still amazed at how Rizal was able to maintain his mental strength despite being thrown away from far away, faraway land and part of his family, and how he was able to become productive and positive despite the things that had happened to him at that time. Unlike Rizal, I did not have the mental fortitude to overcome the challenges he faced in his life. In comparison to him, my mental fortitude was inadequate, and I was easily depressed by nonsense. I'm stressing myself out for no reason, but right now I'm rebuilding myself to have a mentality that won't be shattered by a powerful storm or crumbled by a powerful earthquake. A person from a person offered Rizal to get him out of the Gupan or the Pitan and follow him to their revolutionary group, uh, Katipunan at the time, but Rizal refused because he wanted to clear his name and prove that he was not the one who formed the Katipunan. Rizal's action had an impact on me as a person because I make bad decisions in life that I later regret. and I also make good decisions that I am glad I made. So in a society where we, the people, have the ability to make both bad and good decisions, bad decisions are sometimes made due to lack of financial awareness. But Rizal is different. He was able to keep his word that he will not flee from his problems, and he wants to be the one to clear his name, that he was innocent. So as a result of my bad decision, I sometimes influence others to do the same, which is bad. However, I am now making decisions based on logic. Result declined because of the foundation laid by Dr. Lemaitre and Lawson to engage in revolution instead of fleeing. Rizal offered to be a military doctor in Cuba in a letter to Governor Blanco to the charging of his friends in Madrid and Malolos. He was prevented from leaving the Pitan when Rizal left for Manila. He was late for the ship, so he waited for another, and he requested the Spanish authorities to secure his travel without communication, except with his family. I realized that Rizal was true to his words, and he would not escape. Rather than fleeing Spanish authorities, he volunteered to become a doctor in the Spanish military in Cuba. Despite having the ability to do so, if I were in Rizal's situation, I might not have made the same decision he did, because I am a coward and not as firm with my words in stressful situations. I always choose what is best for me and for my own good. But Rizal did not, because he was brave and true to it. For example, a friend asked me to do him a favor, to assist him with his project, but because I am selfish and dishonest, I declined him and make an alibi that I have a lot of work to do, even though I don't. But now I think about it, I felt terrible for not assisting him with his project. That's why I'm rebuilding myself for a better future. It is also one of my societal issues that must be addressed, because young people today are disrespectful and liars. Even my nephews exhibit this type of behavior, so I'm doing everything I can do to educate them. However, these behaviors have corrupted them to the core, and they are not listening to the words I am saying to them, which is extremely frustrating. Lastly, the justice and death of Rizal. This with Rizal's trial before the Consejo de la Guerra, his death in Bagong Bayan, and Rizal's contentious retraction or um, controversial retraction during the Philippine Revolution. Rizal was taken as a prisoner and imprisoned in Fort Santiago. The Spanish tortured Filipino patriots in order to obtain evidence against Rizal, as well as his brother Pasiano, who remained silent after all. Colonel, Colonel Francisco Garcia informed Rizal of the evidence against him, but while Rizal denied uh, Andres Bonifacio and Katipunan, Rafael Dominguez insisted that Rizal was the insurgency's foundation. Rizal was charged with rebellious sedition as well as conspiracy. The Cuartel de España sentenced Rizal to death because he was found guilty on the basis of circumstantial evidence. On December 30, 1896, at 7 a.m., Rizal was shot by a firing squad of consisting of eight Filipino soldiers in Bagong Bayan. I understand Rizal's denial of his connection to the Katipunan, because like us, Rizal is also a human who is afraid of death. If I were in his situation, I would not hesitate to deny the Katipunan, because I would try to find a way to live. Rizal was a great loss to humanity because he was true to his public service and assistance, as well as his desire for progress and freedom, which is left as Filipino with a legacy. I am extremely proud of him because he demonstrated to the Masons that revolution is the only way to fight for independence from Spanish colonization. Rizal was a true patriot because he gave his life for his country, for the freedom of Philippines. As a person who will lead the next generation, I will do my best to fulfill my responsibilities as a Filipino and assist my country in prospering and becoming great. I will also do my best to pass on my knowledge to those who require it. In the, in the retraction controversy, it was claimed that many friars convinced Rizal to retract in order for him to marry Josephine Bracken. Some believe that Rizal converted to Christianity before being executed. Rizal's body was buried in secret, no masses were held for his soul, and his name was not listed among repentant individuals. There were also who claimed that Rizal's retraction was forged by Catholic Church and that the friars were unable to persuade him. Personally, I believe that Rizal's punishment are too harsh for those who are no longer alive. Results Rizal instilled in us the need to question the retractionary system of thought and life in the Philippines under his faith. This sentence has affected me because it demonstrates that Filipinos decided to take action and revolt as a result of Rizal's contribution and death. This may also teach us, the current generation, to stand firmly in our belief regarding the cause in order to effect change in our society. It is acceptable to voice complaint about our concerns, but it should be kept to a minimum. We must use our voices responsibly and without breaking any laws. Thus, one of the societal issues I have observed in the readings is the torturing individuals. It has been demonstrated that the government's method of forcing a person to speak uh, on what they know is to torture them in the most critical way. And that's all for my reflection video. Thank you.